question.
It's a brutal matchup, Zombie Grub, but we are going to be starting our first game of our next round of 8 match. We're going down here in the bottom left-hand side of Inside and Out on top of the red Protoss player from Dragon Phoenix Gaming. He is herO.
And in the top right, as the blue Protoss for Team Alpha X and for Team North America, it is Astrea.
Astrea, a player who does absolutely feed off the energy of the crowd. Ever since the Cheesadelphia days, where he's playing those kind of smaller LAN events, you could always tell that he thrived when he had a good crowd behind him. He loves the cheers. He actually really does enjoy playing on that main stage. And this is going to be the biggest stage he has played on thus far. The furthest he's ever made it into any of these premier international events. And he is looking really, really strong coming in off the back of that last PvP victory. But herO is a bit of a different ball game compared to the playstyle of Showtime. Let's see how things are going to pan out.
It really is a different level, different play style. It just is actually almost a complete opposite of what we had with herO versus Showtime. First of all, you got their styles, with Astrea even going into that a little bit during his post-game interview, saying that, yeah, it's going to be completely different, opposite of Showtime. Absolutely true. And then I think you also have kind of the gravity that a player like herO brings to a tournament, which so far Showtime lacks. I always feel like it's on the horizon, however, but for herO, that's you know, being from Korea always adds a little bit more, even when we think that the non-Koreans are coming up again. And then herO himself, that name herO, you know he knows how to win. So it can be extremely daunting to go up against him on this stage at this level of competition.
herO is absolutely one of those players that thrives in the later stages of events. He knows not just how to win a series or to an event, he knows how to win a tournament. And he is already on that pathway. He is doing a great job of it so far, but we'll see how things go from here on. We did have herO go for the 2-gate opening and built both those on his high ground up in his main base. Even though this is one of those maps where you can try to go for that low ground version of the gateways, go for the expansion, a lot more akin to what Astrea has actually gone for.
Right, exactly. And so often when we see the person in herO's shoes go for those high ground 2 gateways, we do see a little bit more of a committal, perhaps on a Stargate, for instance, rather than just kind of going like 2 gateway nexus, oh, okay, I guess I'm a little behind there. But we have a little bit of a surprising micro battle happen. Astrea actually trying to say, no, you're in here with me. Maybe he wasn't was hoping that the second stalker wasn't there as fast as it was, and things get a little awkward once again. No, you're trapped in here with me, mate, and the stalker is going to have to get recalled out.
That's a very curious set of trades. I do think that herO's probably a little bit happier just because of the lost mining time, but also 2 pro pickoffs when they traded 1 stalker for 1 stalker. So surely herO's got to be a little bit happier. He did end up having to use a recall. But, yeah, that's something to pay attention to in a little bit.
Oh no!
Proxy pylon in the main. What year is this?
God. Oh, herO. He did get that Stargate. He is building an Oracle, but he's also going for a Twilight Council right now. And he is the type of player who would do exactly what you expect, you know, your ladder opponents to do. I got that Proxy Pylon up. Let's go ahead and get a Dark Shrine. Let's go for it. But Astrea went with an Observer, or a Robo, so he has an Observer. Just going to use this Proxy Pylon for the 2 Adepts, which is that guaranteed damage. And then it is going to get damage. There's almost no stopping it, despite a almost good attempt at trying to block them out. And this has already done the damage that herO was hoping for to put his probe count in the lead.
Yeah, only 1 Adept left over, but you know that the Proxy Pylon's still there. And frankly, this can be the kind of move that can just end a game in PvP.
Yes.
PvP is brutal like that. The Oracle going to come in with a Stasis Trap, which is going to complicate matters even more. The Adepts going to actually be able to force the probes into awkward pathing, so a lot of them get caught in the stasis. The other Adept is still managing to survive as these probes walk outside the shield battery range. 14 probes going down. Zombie Grub, I wouldn't say that this has done the damage. I'd say this has done more than the damage it needed.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Giving herO a 6-worker lead. He's going into Blink as well, so he's going to be able to basically keep control of the map and kind of play around. Does he want to be aggressive? Does he want to play this to a 3rd base? The world is herO's oyster right now. For Astrea, I mean, I got to imagine he's just kind of trying to take things in stride. He messed up by not noticing the lack of pro perhaps exiting, right, to actually check around his base for that. And he's going to have to play this game from behind. His very first game starting off this series against herO, that is harsh. That's oppressive.
It's a really, really good mental blow that herO's been able to strike here in game number 1. Can Astrea bounce back from it? He does still have to deal with the Oracle kind of dancing around, but you can see, even though it may not look like the worker counts are that far apart anymore, it is just the fact that herO has gone and invested into things like Blink a lot faster, and having a lot of his other production capabilities up a little bit faster means in like maybe a minute or so, you're going to start to see the difference in army supply, for example, for herO start to climb up a lot faster. We're already starting to see some of the effect of it.
Yeah. And Astrea trying to kind of go for a very similar thing, right? Going into that Blink and +1 kind of puts us in that position where the math is fairly simple. If you both have very similar compositions, Astrea does have an Immortal, then you just, you look at one person having more, another person not. And aside from the shield battery, it's not going to change much, and that Immortal is now gone, and with it, Astrea might also be gone.
Yeah, this might actually be a kill move from our Korean Protoss player, herO. He's trying to focus fire down some units, does have to blink out of there just for a bit of safety, but the shield battery overcharge is going to expire soon. With that first Immortal already sniped off, that means that Astrea's defensive firepower has been severely reduced, and herO is just getting started.
Yeah, the overcharge kept Astrea alive for a little bit longer. He was hoping that life would give him another Immortal, but it's not out yet. One last Chrono Boost, but what is there to support the Immortal? Not very much. The shield battery out of juice, out of range. Immortal shield already popped, and more reinforcements are going to be on the way. herO doesn't have to stop this aggression. He's doing this while expanding, while building probes, while continuing his technology. Astrea is basically dead. He was just kind of hoping that herO would leave him alone or make a really big mistake, and herO has not. herO's doing what he does best, which is be aggressive.
Yeah, this is an incredibly difficult game, to say the least, for Astrea. Almost impossible to come back from, but he is waiting for that +1 weapons, for that blink, and another Immortal, for some kind of miracle to happen, to hope that maybe herO is just super committed to making this attack happen, and herO is not. He's got 55 workers. Like you said, he's got that third base now finished up. So herO has the transitions behind this on top of the aggression. And I think this Adept play is a really, really smart and intelligent way to just solidify his already growing advantage.
Every time you think that the aggression might stop, you might be able to take a breather and try and even take time to think of a way to make a comeback. herO hits you with something else. So Astrea, flying by the seat of his pants, just trying to keep up with someone who is getting leaps and bounds ahead of him. And perhaps even as we, I think, are getting closer to the end of the game, thinking of ways to win the next one, actually. Trying to figure this one out kind of mentally and saying, like, yeah, let's say this is kind of a silly game for me. That pylon was a bit screwy, and I think the next one's going to be better, because this one isn't actually all that hopeful. Despite Astrea going for that one last-ditch effort to go for an attack, kind of puff up his feathers, say like, yeah, I'm scary, it's really not.
Yeah, a little awkward there as Astrea tries to take a base right next to the proxy gateway, and that's going to also alert herO to the fact that there is a base attempt over there. Awkward warping of these Zealots. This is going to be enough to force Astrea back for a bit, and it gets a lot more awkward as the rest of the Stalkers join the fray, triggering that barrier on the Immortal, which is now on the front lines. It gets target fire down, shield battery overcharge, not going to be enough to save it. Astrea is a little bit notorious for having some of that fantasy GG timing, going for the really, really low likelihood comeback opportunity, but every so often, 1 in 100 games, it works out and it's all justified. It's just Zombie Grub. I'm not so sure that this is one of those 100 games. It
is not, unfortunately. Astrea is pretty correct to do so. There's a lot of comeback mechanics, especially in PvP, but those are comeback mechanics that usually come a little bit later. Basically, I'm saying if you can't get the Disruptors, then maybe, yeah, you have that possibility. Otherwise, kind of, again, that numbers game, you would have to have hoped that herO made a mistake. Now, earlier on in herO's comeback from the military, he was making over-aggressive mistakes. As we finally get that tap out, herO takes game number 1. But he was making those mistakes. He was being overly aggressive. And every so often, that does come out again. herO does something, or like, are you patient? Are you masquerading? But it has been reduced to, I guess, 1 in 100. I'm going to use that one again. Yeah. So as long as herO didn't do that, Astrea has kind of gone after those Adepts, warped into his main base, and herO's not going to let go of an advantage like that.
Yeah, it is a little bit brutal to start off the series this way, but the kind of upside for this is that this is not something that should ever happen again. If this happens again in the best of 5, I think Astrea will really be beating himself up. A proxy pylon in the main is simply one of those once in a kind of tournament opportunities that you'll see. If you look at all of the games across every single player playing, there's maybe one game in a tournament where you'll see a Protoss player get away with a proxy pylon in your opponent's main.
If he does get away with it again, I do want him to go for a Dark Shrine. I don't care if there's Robo or not.
If he gets away with it again, I feel like Astrea will be the player that scouts his main every single game for the rest of his life.
Exactly, for the rest of his life. Never again, right? That's one of those things that probably does happen in every so many ladder games. So for the next 2 dozen, 3 dozen games, you do check for it, but then you kind of forget again. So it is very rare to happen. It is definitely not the best way to start for really the underdog here, you know, in almost every sense of the word. As far as that's, I think mentality, herO has proven to be one of the strongest. The comeback opportunity is one of the strongest. Stage empowerment, one of the strongest, so on and so forth. But I think Astrea, he can still do it. I think he's capable enough of understanding PvP to say that doesn't happen again. Like, calm down, rework your strategy, do what you know you do best, and let's actually play like kind of a real first PvP.
Absolutely. We are going to be moving into Tropical Sacrifice as we start up here at the top right-hand side of the map. On top of the player sitting up 1-0 from Dragon Phoenix Gaming, he is herO.
In the bottom left, once again, last North American of the tournament, repping Alpha X, he is Astrea.
I think to your point, Zombie Grub, there is definitely one of those things where if you are an experienced tournament player, especially like herO is a great example, sometimes you can really easily write off those first games and kind of shake it off and think, okay, that was a little bit silly of me, move on, it's fine. But I think even though Astrea has been getting more and more experience, this is, again, just that uncharted territory for him. Those nerves do creep up, more of those mainstay matches, and also just being so far in the tournament against such top caliber players, it is a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, and those things are harder to shake off when you're in those situations.
Yeah, especially after the first game is a loss really from the get-go. So this is really going to have to do with, you know, how Astrea is able to approach this mentally. I think if he's the type to actually successfully push aside the atmosphere, you know, the fact that it is an offline LAN and all the kind of actually annoyances that come with it, right? Like the desk is too high, the keyboard's off-center, you know, all that type of stuff. And think back to some of the online tournaments of which he did actually take down herO, then this won't be just a shutout, you know, which it can happen, of course, it can. herO is very, very good, but it really isn't supposed to. They do have a history. Astrea does take games, does take series. It's not really supposed to be super one-sided.
Yeah. Can Astrea bounce back from that 0-1 deficit, from the potential blow there, a little bit of that momentum loss? Can he channel the cheers from you guys out there in the crowd, cheering him on in America, in his home territory? We'll find out.
Yeah.
We already see that this game is getting underway, though, Zombie Grub.
Heck yeah, it is. This is a lot of action in Astrea's natural base. herO, you know, he did a little of that poking and prodding last game, and I thought, look, oh, is he being a little cheeky? No, he just really wants to start off with the aggression, and now really doubling down on it. Those are hard to track shield batteries. Fear Dragon, who's a who's?
It is difficult, but I will say I've definitely seen herO losing, I think, 2 of the shield batteries without a cancel, so that's going to be a little bit painful. We're going to start to see more of herO's units start to funnel on through. That's 1
Astrea shield battery, guys. Yeah. That is 3, 4, 5 shield batteries from herO, and a gateway. Okay, all right, yeah, this is happening. That is Astrea's shield battery, however, finally helping him out in the defensive, but he's already lost 7, 8 probes, and herO is being a bully. He is being a straight-up bully. He is not going to let Astrea recover mentally.
This is absolutely brutal. I think the one saving grace here is that if he can deal with those adepts, I do think Astrea can fully wall himself off pretty easily, thanks to how many shield batteries herO has made. So I think he is just one single pylon away from fully walling himself in and not having to worry about this, but he has already lost so many workers. I do think this was a big investment for herO, but an 8-worker advantage that is still potentially going to grow does not lie.
Yeah, and there's nothing else that Astrea has. It's not like he's got an army size in his pocket. He's down an army. It's not like he got technology in his pocket. He's still stuck on the gateways. once again, very dead, guys.
This is kind of brutal to watch, but Astrea's going to try and give it his all over here. He has to start taking away the shield batteries, which are healing up all these units that are just being rallied forward. There it is. GG herO locks down a very fast second game. My God.
Yes, indeed. herO, he is without mercy, man.
Smiling assassin, Zombie Grub.
That's
Smiling
exactly right.
assassin.
Let's bring that back. You know, sometimes we kind of went with it more because he had that kind of mischievous smile. So you're like, ah, smiling assassin. I'm going to focus more on the assassin part this time.
Yeah.
He is assassinating Astrea, and I don't know what Astrea has to do about it. I don't know how he changes things up so dramatically, especially because it's not like herO has to do this.
Yeah, I've seen, for example, Max Packs and some other really top-notch PvP players pull off those kind of proxy shield battery maneuvers in that kind of exact same fashion where you get those adepts through, you have that safety shield battery wall basically you can fall back to heal things back up after taking some damage versus pros, but it is really, really brutal to deal with if you don't handle everything absolutely perfectly. Again, it's really unfortunate for Astrea because in some ways the upside is that these are one-off builds that you shouldn't really expect to see again. The downside is it's happened twice. What's to say there isn't a third one like that? Astrea really has to start thinking about all the possibilities as he's up against match point.
Yeah, exactly. That was what I was trying to point out with, like, herO doesn't have to do this. So what if Astrea is, you know what, I'm just going to go for high ground 2 games. I don't care what the next map is. Because then maybe I have a better chance at stopping the shenanigans and I can actually be aggressive to you. But then what if herO plays a near perfect defensive macro game? Because he is capable of doing that.
It's a frightening thought. And you know what? I honestly, at this point, Zombie Grub, would not hate it. I mean, I personally would hate it as an Astrea fan, but I would not hate it for herO if he did do something a little bit cheeky yet again, because it's been working. And frankly, I have to imagine it's just going to be tilting for Astrea.
Yes. Yeah. It's going to be very tough. This man in the upper left of Cosmic Sapphire, he's an assassin, guys. He is the red Protoss for DPG, herO.
Down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, his back is up against the wall. He needs your energy from the crowd. He is Alpha X's Astrea.
Certainly willing to lend him that energy. If only there was a spirit bomb in the making, this would be enormous. Fortunately, it doesn't exist in StarCraft 2.
It's going to be pretty difficult. If you can formulate that energy into something, this is the game to do it. More than any other game in this tournament so far. Astrea's got to make something happen. This is not a comfortable spot to be. All of the numbers, all the stats at this point are going to be against him. Reverse sweeping, much less, you know, for starting off with his first game is going to be difficult. Just taking this first victory is going to be difficult against someone of herO's caliber who has simply just not shown any mercy. I don't have another way of saying it, Zombie Grub.
Right.
He has shown no mercy.
He really has not. And it's, again, one of those things where Astrea, it just is going to compound, right? So anytime he might lose a pro battle, or he might shade incorrectly, or something along those lines, it's going to weigh more on him, unless he has a very strong will. And herO is going to be going for something, I mean, potentially aggressive, just because it's proxy pylon, but of course it is going to actually be proxied. The probe is staying there, so that's up to Astrea to try and find that and find exactly what is the proxy. The question is, you know, how much damage does it do? Is it really going to be committed? Robo versus Stargate mean drastically different things.
Absolutely. It's going to be double stalker for both of these players as Astrea does stick around inside that main base for a little bit longer. We're going to see Astrea sending the probe to the low ground, starting to save up some money. He does throw down a pylon, but it's going to be the question, is he actually thinking about going for a faster Nexus over here? Because if he is up against something more aggressive, like a Robo, it's going to be a little bit dangerous, but it is going to be a Stargate.
Yeah, so this is what the difference really is. A Robo is very committed, very trying to straight up kill you. The Oracle opening from this Stargate is going to be more about, I'm going to do extreme damage that, you know, hopefully kills you, but it's not really immediate. So Astrea, I mean, he really would love to figure this out and actually find the proxy, but I don't think he's going to be able to. He actually meets his opponent's stalkers in the middle of the map. We're going to get the micro battles here, and it is, it's very similar.
Yeah, double kill at the exact same moment. They're even on those hit points, but I think another couple of units should be rallying forward just a tiny bit faster for Astrea, because they are on Astrea's side of the map, so I'd imagine they come in a little faster. Both these players have a lot that they're going to continue to try and do back at home during all the Stalker micro. But at the end of the day, both players end up disengaging. And I mean, I would say if you're going to trade Stalker for Stalker, herO's going to be happier with that because he is going for a proxy Oracle.
I mean, Astrea is going to be prepared for this. He's got Stalkers in the main and Shield Battery in the natural. You know, I think if he was reading this as like a proxy Robo, and I'd be going for a Twilight Council right now. So assuming that the Oracles don't really do a whole lot of or the Adepts don't do a whole lot of damage.
Oh no, the Adepts coming in. This is brutal.
Yeah, because there was a real chance the Oracle wasn't going to do anything, but the Adepts combining with it add that potential. The Adepts already got a lot. Now the Oracle adds in a little bit more. Doesn't actually get the kill on it either, so the double Oracle is going to be able to come in later, even if he now invests into a Shield Battery, and that actually might seal the deal. I mean, I would love for Astrea to be able to come back like this, but once again, not walling off. The Adepts come in, and Astrea, I mean, I don't think you tap out at this point, right? But if this was a ladder game, I think you would.
Yeah. Honestly, you can say, oh man, what is Astrea doing? But at the end of the day, I have to credit herO because the way he opened up the first game and the second game, I think that is the reason why you can directly attribute it to the mistakes Astrea is making in game number 3. It is because of the mental damage that herO has been able to do throughout this series. herO has earned himself these mistakes.
I guess that's kind of a weird but accurate way of putting it. He's really doing a great job forcing his opponent's mistakes, absolutely. Now, kind of key here is stopping the Oracles from finding the Dark Shrine, but then a real cherry on top, a possible comeback maneuver would be then actually killing the 2 Oracles. If herO just doesn't think about a Dark Shrine, which he literally just scouts, then maybe he'd lose both and be like, oh, that was kind of stupid of me, but you know, I'm winning, so whatever. Maybe he doesn't remake them, but that's a chance kind of got pushed away as soon as I brought it up. Dark Shrine was scouted. And herO is going to make sure to keep those Oracles alive for the Revelation.
Yeah, I was going to say, no real robotics facility or forge or anything on the way. He's just going to be relying on those good old Oracles to get the scouting information. He even finds the proxy pylon, which is usually going to be pretty commonly made when there is a Dark Shrine. So good identification there. Astrea knows it's already been kind of found out at this point. He goes for the DT, and I like that he does manage to split up the DTs, but this was not a play that needed to get equalizing damage. It needed to get devastating damage.
Yeah, definitely need to do a bit more. I mean, Astrea does have Blink on his side, so that's something that he doesn't have to worry about necessarily for a while, but it's not really lending him very much either. It's not like he's going to get a ton of map control from this, because he just has less units. And the DTs are trying to be sneaky, but it's just not working. It looks like Astrea wants to go for maybe a gold base. That would be kind of funny. I mean, but I might actually like it.
Yeah, Zombie Grub, I'm okay with any and all opportunities or options that Astrea has on the table at this point.
No, I think he is setting up for the regular third. So that probe might just be kind of something he was going to use, but then didn't do it. So regular stuff here from Astrea. He's going to play straight and narrow and just kind of hope that as herO makes, again, a few minor mistakes, perhaps, that kind of compound, but already it's Astrea kind of making the mistakes, getting a Stalker killed. herO's out for blood. He's looking for that third Nexus. He's looking for the straight up kill, possibly. Blinks forward onto a very small number of Stalkers for Astrea. That Immortal recently starting is not going to be out in time to actually save Astrea, and this was just a brutal best of 5 to watch.
herO comes in here and says, Astrea, round of 8, great job getting further in the tournament, but this is as far as you go. The rest of this tournament is mine. This Protoss spot in the semifinals is going to be mine. He charges on forward, snipes off Stalker after Stalker. Big Daddy Immortal is going to push things off, but for how long, Zombie Grub?
That is the question. I mean, Astrea has not been an absurd number of probes down in this series, right? If it was 15, I think it really is game over, and everyone's kind of wondering why Astrea's in the game. But it's only been 4, I think max at one point was 6 or 7. The third Nexus is actually faster for Astrea. We still are at a point where if herO is super overconfident and maybe is overly aggressive, he makes the mistake of blinking into a Shield Battery overcharge, or he does that and 1DT finally makes his way into the natural base. I mean, the avenues of comeback are getting even more limited. There's even less of them as the game goes on, really. But if Astrea can hold defensively and get to, again, that key unit disruptors, then I feel like they'd be open again.
Yeah, it's going to have to rely on some big things like that to actually end up working out. And he has those 2 Immortals with a Observer going to be popping out next. I mean, even the potential to snipe off an opponent's Observer, or, you know, if he does manage to snipe off the, I guess, the Oracles, that will deny some of the detection available there. Maybe buy him a little bit more time to get up some additional tools to mount a comeback in this game?
Yeah. Don't see a stasis trap TT too often. That's probably going to be killed a little bit later on. herO has actually have an even probe count with Astrea at this point. So again, the economics aren't terrible. Astrea is not bothering to really go for any upgrades. I think he's trying to realize that he's got to cut something, and that might be it. He's going to try and get a powerful immortal count, and again, try and play defensively around those shield batteries. But to what end, I suppose, is now the question, because again, no real difference of... Not enough of a big difference. There we go. Not enough of a difference of the armies. The 3 Immortals, if they do move across the map, you could be maybe Warp Prism Micro to make them really, really effective. But really, they're just anchoring the defense with shield batteries and walking into the stasis trap. Doesn't feel so good.
No, that is not going to feel good. But we do see shield battery overcharge coming out over here with 2 Immortals going to be able to hold the line. Astrea's finding tiny little victories here as he is managing to mount some defenses. The Oracles come in to the main base, though, Zombie Grub. That is going to be quite a few probes going down.
7 of them. He could have been maybe a little bit greedier, but doesn't want to lose both the Oracles. He's the one places stasis traps around Astrea's base, just waiting for Astrea to move even an inch out of place, perhaps even safeguarding retreats should herO make that overcommittal mistake. But herO now has +1. He has a gigantic Stalker Ball, 25 Stalkers, going to cancel that 4th base Nexus. They're up against just 3 Immortals and 9 Stalkers. This is actually something that herO can absolutely take on immediately, taking out the 2 Immortals, leaving Astrea with 1, and Astrea, once again, is just in too difficult a position to come back from.
Here we go. herO is taking out probes. He's taking out Stalkers. He's been taking out Immortals. He is going to finally just back off and play it out a little bit safely. He knows what a lead he's been able to garner with the economic advantage. He knows he's been able to garner a nice army advantage as well. It's going to be about whether or not he can just close out this situation. Snipes off another Immortal as well. Just incredible play so far from herO.
Exactly. All it takes is a little less on the Stalker count, so a little more for Astrea, you know, an actual shield battery up here first and foremost, something like that. And a lot of these battles go a little less good, a little less well for herO, and suddenly Astrea is back in it. But instead, it's always going just that little bit better for herO, and he is continuing to widen the supply gap. He's going to be on +2, probably just as Astrea finishes his +1. Only good thing for Astrea is that he's finally taken the double Oracle out of the equation, so maybe he can save his workers, but can he save his life?
Yeah. Amazing fighting spirit here from Astrea, but herO is just relentless. He is continuing to find opening after opening and continuing to seize these moments. He's just not leaving any major weaknesses for himself. He is maybe losing a handful of Stalkers here and there, but he's always taking his tax on Astrea. And again, herO knows he can trade evenly and be more than happy about it.
herO's going to be on 5 bases soon enough. 75 workers to 53. Astrea still unable to get up his 4th base, and nothing really changing in the composition. The last Immortal, well, actually one just popped, so second to last Immortal is going to go down, and there is the last Immortal. That is probably officially going to be it. I know it's been a long time coming. Astrea had that fighting spirit, as you said, Fear Dragon, but it was just too much to come back from, especially when herO knows how to actually end games, basically. He's got that hunting instinct, and it has come through here today to get one of the quickest, most decisive 3-0s of the tournament.